Hi everybody. We are going to take another walking tour of my local fish store today called House of Tropicaals here in Glen, Burnie, Maryland. And they were kind enough to give me access to the store prior to it opening, so we won't be bothered by any customers today. And while I may get some odd looks from a few employees that aren't quite sure what I'm doing in here this early in the morning, we should be able to do a nice uninterrupted tour around the store today. So this is probably going to be a much longer video. We're going to go ahead and do the whole shebang, and we're going to see pretty much everything. We won't do the behind the scenes look at all their water systems and everything today. We'll make that for another time because we have a lot of ground to cover just getting through the store. These are simply display tanks. I'm kind of giving you a look at them for a moment while I get the video prepped, and then the tour will begin. This is a nice African cichlid tank, although it's very difficult to see because of the glare being right here against the front window of the building. We're looking right out into the parking lot there, so it makes this tank very difficult to see. But they have show tanks all over the place. They have little sort of demonstration tanks that let you see various ways you can set tanks up. The last tour I did, we went down this way. We looked at their driftwood, their rocks. We have all of these supplies. So today we are going to come around and we're going to look at some more of the nuts and bolts end of the store first. We come down here, we have all of the row after row of everything you can imagine for fish and pond equipment, tanks, pumps, filters, meds, lights, lighting, you name it. They've got a store full of it. You can buy RO systems here, just about any size and shape tank you want. And as I said, all over the place in little nooks and crannies you find these display tanks put in. And again, these are just tanks that are set up for display to give customers different ideas of what they could do. Displays different products and shows off different brands. And we'll just come back out of this little corner of the store and go around the bend. Now I'm a little sad that this tank has been shut down, but it sprung a leak somewhere in it. That used to be beautiful, as did this, but I'm not really sure why they're shutting this area down. So if we come around this way, we actually go briefly into their reptile section. And then of course they also have their stuff for turtles and hamsters, gerbils, you name it. They've got stuff for that around here. It's not actually, I'm not actually able to go into this area. You're supposed to look through the glass at the cages on the inside of the room. So it's a little bit of an odd reptile area. Again, I'm not really into the reptiles anymore, so I don't do a lot with coming here. But they do have a pretty good selection, and it's not your everyday type stuff. So we will move on to the fish. I just wanted to give everybody a look at the variety of stuff you can get here. It's not just a fish store. This really is a tropical pets store. So coming around the corner, this is the aisle that we were not able to see much of last time we were in here because it was so crowded, and this aisle usually is very crowded. This aisle is sort of like a miscellaneous aisle. We have very soft water fish on this side of us. They have a lot of different varieties of discus here. This aisle also contains angelfish. They have a lot of guppies in this aisle. They have a lot of oddball stuff like freshwater lobsters. Just random stuff down this aisle. And again, we can't do tank by tank. I'm sorry, I just probably wouldn't have enough battery on my phone here to go around and do that much video, because this is a store that has over 700 tanks in it. And they do have, I believe, 4 separate water systems. See, I'm getting a little overwhelmed just trying to even think about what I want to show you while I'm talking about what I'm talking about, because it's just tank after tank after tank of amazing fish. So I'm trying to find some stuff that might be a little more worth looking at. But they do have 4 separate water systems, and then they have quite a few tanks that are actually set up on their own water systems. So if they do have sick fish or fish that have known issues, they can put them in these tanks that are on their own water system, and therefore not worry about contaminating and cross-contaminating all of their tanks. That is a big concern for any major operation like this. You find one fish that's infected with some sort of bacterial or fungal infection, and the next thing you know, you've got hundreds of fish that have now potentially been exposed, and just the cost in medicating that many tanks and medicating that many fish alone, even if you didn't lose any, is still enormous. So having, quarantine tanks and having systems that allow you to separate ill fish is very, very important for an operation like this, as it is for anybody. Even in your home aquarium, if you find a sick fish, you definitely want to be able to have a system you can put it in that's not part of the main system with all your fish in it. This is one of the 8 protein skimmers they have. They're not all this big, but this is a protein skimmer if you're wondering what all this apparatus is, and this is for the backside of their saltwater section, which we will go have a look at next. There's some shrimp in this tank. Oh, let's see, anything else interesting? I'm actually considering getting some hatchet fish for my new tank. I need some surface fish, and hatchet fish are one of them that comes to mind, although I'm probably not going to get them, but they do come to mind. I do like the hatchet fish, and they usually have a good selection of them down here. We've got some feeders here. And then this section is all of their salt water. We'll start down at the end. And this is a lot of inverts. They've got all sorts of starfish, anemones, corals, shrimp. This whole aisle to our left is their African cichlid aisle. We will take a little bit of time and look at that today as we make our way back up. And then this whole aisle that continues down is also all of their saltwater aisle. And I always like to stop and look at some of their puffers and lionfish. And these are some bigger tanks with some larger fish in them. I'm not a saltwater guy, so I can't really name a lot of these animals. So in addition to this whole aisle that is saltwater, we have a couple little oddball saltwater tanks as well, which are over here. And then this is always my favorite tank. This is a big display tank too. It always has sharks and rays, and they sometimes have octopus in here. So this is another tank that is really a good one. There's an octopus right there. And all of this is saltwater. We're not going to have too close of a look at that today. And then of course down here we have all of their coral frags. And then we have more coral. This is where they do their RO water. You can actually buy RO water and salt water here, pre-made. We have more coral in here. And then we have all of their live rock in these bins. All of these nano tanks are various either very small fish or nano fish, clowns, wrasses, animals like that are in these tanks over here. They have quite a selection of them, some very nice looking fish over here. And in this section, this time of year anyway, we have all of our koi and outdoor pond fish. And they usually have a pretty good selection of those as well. This is seasonal, as I said. In the fall they close this whole area down, and this whole corner of the store more or less becomes storage until spring. We have outdoor pond plants to go with all of the koi stuff, and then of course they have all of their little betta fish here. Now moving on from the saltwater to the fresh. These tanks along this side are show tanks, but they are also tanks with fish for sale. You can pretty much buy any of these fish out of here. And these are some really stunning tanks. These rays obviously are freshwater rays, and I don't know what kind they are, but they are absolutely beautiful. Let's see. I don't even see them on that ticket. They're freshwater Atlantic stingrays, okay? Absolutely gorgeous. Not sure why the lights are not lit in this tank, but this is another tank that's absolutely beautiful. I really like this one a lot. So again, not really sure why the lights are not lit, and these are the lights, by the way, the LEDs that they have on here. And this section has, well, it's got a lot of different stuff. It's got a lot of large fish down at this end. Their goldfish are here. Their feeders are on this end. And they often will have aggressive fish down on this end. Incoming fish often will come in here as well. When people have fish that outgrow their home tanks and they need to get put somewhere, they will often get put in these tanks. This system down here is another system that's separated from the main bodies. And this, I am sad to say, is their one and only brackish tank. They have some scats in there right now. It looks like a couple of chromides maybe. And that is it. I don't even see any puffers today, so they're really lacking in their brackish tank. But that's the only complaint I would have about this store. And when you get right down to it, there really isn't that many brackish animals out there, so I guess one tank is enough to house pretty much any ones they would have come in anyway. So moving on to the plants. They've got a great selection of plants down here. The whole rest of this aisle is all various plants. Some of them are small, some of them are larger. You know, you can get the same plant but just in varying sizes. You can get some stuff that has already been grown onto rocks and onto frameworks. See, here's some very large St. Elmo fire swords. Those are $17 each. And then when you get down here, like I say, you've got some stuff that's already been attached to driftwood for you. You've got stuff that's being grown in on framework. And this does not normally look like this. Remember, everybody, we are in here before hours, and everybody is working furiously to get the store prepped. The store doesn't open for another 45 minutes at this point, so we're still pretty long way to go before we're ready for the public. Here is that amazing, amazing flower horn. He will probably be in here for a while. He is going for a pretty penny, so I can't imagine that he's going to get snatched up too quickly for the amount of money this fish is. But he is a stunner. He is an amazing looking fish. I always like the very large catfish they can get in here as well. These shovel nose will get very large. And somewhere in there is a spotted gar, at least according to the ticket. Once again, not really sure what these are. But they are really nice looking fish. I know they get huge too, so definitely not one for me. And we will just move along through the rest of this aisle because we still got a long way to go, and I'm starting to get in people's way. It's Mike, everybody. He's the owner. Sorry, Mike.
Hi. How you doing?
And thank you again for letting me in here early. I really appreciate it.
Oh, you're welcome.
This is a stunning arowana. He's been here for a while, and they've recently reduced the price. So if you're in the market for a very, very large arowana, I know where you can get one. We've got tinfoil barbs, piranhas, silver dollars. We got all kinds of stuff in this tank. Of course, we got that giant pleco. I don't need to be told what that one is. This is another display tank right now. Not necessarily crazy about that face in the back, but as far as everything else goes, it's a beautiful tank. The discus in here are amazing. I really wish I could do this with less glare, but you do what you got to do. These are another beauty, again, a fish that I'm not really familiar with personally myself. Chiclosoma something or other. So moving on, we're getting to the main body of the store now. This aisle to the right, all the way the length of the store, is the aisle that has the water that is most like my water. I can also take fish from this center island, either this side or the opposite side, but we're going to go up one side and down the other, and that'll make it a little easier. Here's one fish I am considering for my new tank, is the African butterfly fish. A lot of you figured that out. I gave some pretty solid clues as to what I was thinking about. But we will see how that goes. That might be one that comes home with me today. The rainbow fish that this is actually what I'm down here for, is these rainbow fish. This is the Marcy that I have in my tank, and I lost the one. Some of you do not realize that I actually lost two of them. I found another one dead the following morning. So I have spoken with Mike, who we just saw, and we are going to work something out to compensate me for my losses. Another reason that I like coming here, they're a reasonable store. So those are two potential fish I might be coming home with today. And again, I'm not going to go really tank by tank here. I do like to watch a tank full of pictus swimming around. That's always enjoyable. Obviously not a tenable situation. You couldn't do that at home, but it's neat to look at when they're in the store. And these are another catfish that get absolutely enormous, but they're adorable when they're small. I've never seen dojo loaches that big before. Those are enormous dojo loaches. There's more back ghosts down here. Catfish. Oh, let's see. Just looking for anything worth really kind of stopping and having another look at. Mollies, platies, all that kind of stuff. Here's some more rainbow fish that I would be interested. I considered these, but unfortunately when they got their shipment in, they were, one of them had a bacterial infection on it, so these fish have been isolated in this tank and are undergoing treatment. So they're not even available for me to buy, should I even want them. But these are Goiter River rainbow fish, and they were probably going to be my first choice until I saw those Marcies, and I wound up bringing the Marcies home. Partially due to the fact that these fish were recommended not to take home because they had been, potentially contaminated. So sometimes when we stock our tanks, it's what was available at the time as opposed to what we necessarily wanted to put in the tank, because that was not my first choice. Here's some rope fish. Those are always fun. Those are just plain old emerald rainbow fish. They had about 5 different species of rainbow fish for me to choose from. Here's giant danios. I've had a lot of people recommend I get giant danios for some of my tanks, and you can stop recommending giant danios. I absolutely hate danios. I will never have a danio in any of my tanks. They're pretty to look at, but I cannot stand them as far as their behavior. They're way, way, way too, can't even think of the word I'm looking for right now, frantic. See, here's one with a crooked spine. You do see them from time to time, but these also are giant danios. So they do get big. Now, what a lot of you have probably been waiting for is the African cichlid owl. All this owl here, down to the breakthrough, and then the other whole back side is all African cichlids. So we'll go around and just do the African cichlid island. And again, I don't really know what I'm looking at when it comes to African cichlids because they're not my thing at all. So I might be walking right past really, really valuable fish and then stopping to look at very common everyday fish. I don't know. Like I said, I'm just not an African cichlid guy. I don't know what are good and what aren't. All I know is what catches my eye. I do like the Synodontis though. I just can't keep very many species of them because I don't have water that will sustain them. So there's another interesting cichlid that I like, or interesting Synodontis that I like. I always like those too. So coming around the gap, this whole side going up this aisle is also more African cichlids. Again, I apologize for all my African cichlid guys out there. I don't know any idea what I'm looking at. I'm just no interest in African cichlids at all. Now these are pretty. And that's pretty much the end of the line for the African cichlids. This is that whole aisle. I do know the frontosas when I see them. This is a wild frontosa. And he is a looker. That's a good looking fish. So we've already seen this right side. This is their saltwater aisle. We will finish up by coming down here and looking at the other side of the freshwater that I can use. This is the island, and I can actually keep the fish in this aisle as well. This is one I definitely wanted to take a moment to show everybody. This is a Nile perch. That is an awesome fish. I don't know if that is actually coming out very well. There we go. Absolutely fantastic fish, but they get really big and they are really aggressive. This is not for sale, so clearly this tank is being medicated for something. A lot of South American cichlids are in this aisle. Here's another Nile perch. These are smaller. These are only $2.49. Got frogs over here, we've got crabs over here, dwarf frogs over here. He's a shy one. These Rombo barbs are beautiful. I really like these too. And this is pretty much the end of the line. We get down here and that's all their tanks. And we're back to the main central portion of the store. And I will leave you all with a final look at this amazing tank with sharks, octopus, and rays. So thanks for watching this one. I hope you enjoyed. Look forward to more in the future. I will get in here one of these days and take them up on their offer to do a behind the scenes look, and we will get a look at how they manage all of their separate water systems and how they do all of their various protein skimmers and keep tanks separate from each other, etc., etc. So look forward to that, and go ahead and subscribe if you're not already. Thanks for watching this one. I'll see you real soon on the next one.